Hello, everyone, and my name is Dustin Ramsey, and this is our Tech Talk. This is a class that we actually do in person at Mars Hill Library and also Marshall Library here soon. Every Tuesday, we meet at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Mars Hill Library and 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Marshall Library. We do ask that you register if you're going to be coming to our classes at each location, just so we have enough materials and enough attendance to actually do the class, more specifically for a more rural area such as Marshall. So please make sure you talk to the library and let them know that you'll be in attendance for that class. It's as simple as giving them a call, sending them an email, or you're more than welcome to send us an email as well. Our company is Mars Hill Technology, a small business here in Western North Carolina, and we're trying to help our local community with security and technology advice in their daily processes. This tech talk that we're doing today is part of a series in our cybersecurity series, and the first lesson that we have is Beyond Antivirus. Please be patient with me because this is my first tech talk as well, so I might have a little bit of mess ups and everything. Please feel free to mark a comment or something here on our YouTube video. We'd be really appreciated if there's some information I said wrong. We'll go back and review those, and you can see those in our comments here below it. Any kind of positivity is great, so appreciate that. But let's get started here. Beyond Antivirus. So we're moving away from legacy signature scans to endpoint detection and response. And you'll be seeing this abbreviated through the different slides as EDR. This is the industry term for that kind of technology or that kind of system that monitors these things and our background. And endpoint, if you're not familiar with that term being used in the industry, you'll start seeing that when you're buying security features for devices or things on your network. And that's how they actually sell per or device. An endpoint is basically it's a device connected to the internet that you would normally do business or your home use and everything of. That's an endpoint. So instead of device, they're using that term to define it. But we're going to go over kind of the subject today for our discussion. So our first one is like, how's antivirus losing our war? How the traditional antiviruses work and they fail, and what EDR does differently. We're also going to do a real attack demo with fileless malware, which is becoming an issue these days. And then finally, we're going to be going over some services our company offers that we might benefit our local area for you. Even if you're not in the local area, we'd be happy if you don't have an IT department or you're actually watching this and you're like, man, I'd love to have someone monitor this for me. We do that option for all of our people in our local area, and we're happy to include you as well if you have an organization and you want it done as well. So let's get started for that first slide here. So the problem we have today is your antivirus is fighting yesterday's war. And what we're saying that is if someone emailed a brand new piece of malware to every person in the country, your antivirus would probably let it through. If you're running McAfee or some of these legacy programs like Norton or something of that nature, what they're doing is they're checking the signature files, like known exploits that's out and open in the world, and they're checking to see if your actual this file you've downloaded or this this program that's running or whatever is checking these known exploits. Well, today's day and age, these exploits are becoming a lot more advanced. 90% of malware is brand new when it attacks. So a lot of these attackers are making these different malware or viruses deliberately being unique, so it bypasses the traditional antivirus scanners. So many people are like, oh, I have an antivirus, or I pay monthly for this antivirus program on my computer. It'll block everything known to man. Well, that's not the case. So these are tools that we're using to help us fight the war against bad threat actors and everything in the world. But we need to make sure that we know how it operates and where it's falling and in regard to it. So fileless attacks run entirely in memory, no file to scan. So they run completely in your RAM, and they're almost impossible to find with these outdated systems for antivirus and malware. So we need a system that looks more at the behavior versus responding to traditional files that have been identified. And what the big problem is these fully undetectable malware. They're selling this on the dark web, which is a scary thought. It's just like a normal drug trade that would happen, in today's society or whatever. They're doing the same with these advanced malware signatures and stuff. If they can sell it on the dark web, people can take that information and they can actually, or that program or whatever, and they can implement it into their daily practice of trying to exploit people's information. And it costs as little as $50 to exploit thousands of users on the web and try to collect financial information, or try to get into some sort of system that they're not supposed to be in. So it's not a great thing. It's not a great thing with technology increasing, and AI and all these different tools that people are using. You got to think that the bad people are also using them. So we want to make sure that we're ahead of those people when it happens. So how a traditional antivirus works, typically the file arrives. You download, you get an email attachment, or you put in your USB or whatever. The antivirus would check that against a database. It would match the file hash to known bad signatures, and that's just a collection of different known exploits in the world. And it would take that and say, hey, does this match? No, no, no. If a traditional antivirus, if it says it did find the match, it would go ahead and block whatever it is. The program, the file, or whatever, it would block it or quarantine it. If there's no match, which is a common thing these days, it would allow it through your system. And that's the bad part with the traditional antivirus programs. So the big issue in the gap here is never seen files. New malware is there's no database entry. It goes right through your system, and it's working like it's designed and everything. And a big part of that is polymorphic malware. This is malware that changes the signature every run. It'll repackage its tool automatically and generate millions of unique variants from the same core attack code. So that's a really scary thought that this malware is becoming even more unpredictable when it comes to traditional logs and data, how we normally handle antivirus and everything. So the big reason is zero-day attacks. So a zero-day attack is just an unknown vulnerability with no patch. That means no one's seen this before. It's just happening, and these tools are becoming more sophisticated. And we need to be looking at it at a different approach versus checking it off a database. We need to be looking at maybe behavior with it. And the average gap between zero-day discoveries and first exploitations, it's usually under 15 days. And databases just can't keep up with that. You're having these attacks happen, and then they're trying to get it as soon as possible to the public, but it's taken a while to get those put on a database and sent around. So just for the numbers here for the antivirus gap, 97% of malware is brand new. Is 5 days to first exploit. That's the average time attackers weaponize a known vulnerability after disclosure. So remember, we were talking about 15 to be in some sort of report and sent out to all their antivirus programs. Well, these threat actors are doing it at an incredibly fast rate. They are sending these out, getting the information back from whatever program or whatever they've designed, malware or virus or whatever, and they're getting this information and they're taking advantage of it. They're going after financial information. They're doing the next talking point, which is ransomware. This is a huge part in small business, and it's becoming even more of an issue moving forward. You're going to start seeing a lot more of these happening to local people, your friends, your family, all this kind of things. And the average small or medium business ransomware cost is $8K. That's pretty expensive when you have an operation, and $8K is payroll for the month, or $8K is your whole entire family's vacation budget once a year or whatever, to go and do a vacation. So ransomware is basically, if you're not familiar with it, a threat actor would get access to your computer with some sort of exploit, and then they would start encrypting or changing the file structure of your photos, your documents, whatever it might be, videos in your computer, and they use it as ransom. So you'll start trying to get your photos or something, and you'll start noticing that there's just a weird file type. And you'll typically get an email or something on your screen or something, or a note or whatever that tells you the procedure to get back your files. And I would say 99% of the time, these ransomware things do not pay the money to try to get these back. Typically, they're just going to take that money and you'll never see it again. They'll say something like, give me Bitcoins, or send this to a wire, this money to this account or whatever, and you'll never see that money, an offshore account, because there's no laws or regulations conducting it. These are bad people. So don't pay ransomware. You want to protect yourself through ransomware. And a big part of that is having an EDR set up to kind of watch that. 71% of businesses, antiviruses failed. That's a big thing. Is like a lot of people are using these outdated systems, and it's costing them big time when it comes to their infrastructure. And the worst thing is a threat actor can, once they get into one computer, typically they can navigate east and west on a network, which means that they can go from one computer to the other once they get access to one. So you want to protect every computer in your infrastructure. So when we're talking endpoints and devices, we want to protect all of them, because the weakest link is all it takes. You have one computer, one device, whatever, and it gets compromised. Now all your system could be. So you want to make sure you're doing it for all systems to make sure that they're all protected. I've got some examples here. Here in Western North Carolina, we've got a couple here, like Avery County Schools had some issues with this, with their antivirus failing. Madison County medical offices did. A lot of small businesses in Asheville have been hit hard with their AV antivirus running, and they just didn't have the tools at the time. I'm sure they've advanced in that state, told their friends, but we want to get the awareness out there. So what's an EDR? So that Endpoint Detection and Response. What it does differently, it watches behavior, not just file signatures. So, an EDR might ask, why is this computer doing this task? What is this file? Is this normal in the operation? It keeps a record of the complete timeline for everything that happens on your device. So let's say, hey, this program is executing this information at 3 o'clock in the morning. It went here, it went there, so on and so forth. It keeps a record of everything. So that way you can go and look at everything it's compromised and how it behaved during the whole entire process of it. So you can see if it's false negative, false positive, if it's false positive. So a false positive might be like, oh, we think this is some sort of malware signature. Well, it might be something that you've done yourself, like maybe a script that your company needs or something like that. So that allows you to look at everything and make sure it's actually supposed to be working or not. So the next part is it fires alerts on suspicious behavior, like I told you. Like, why is this program? In this example, we have Word exe just launched PowerShell at 3 a.m. And it flags it instantly, and it says even if malware is brand new, it goes back to that point. It looks for the behavior. And most endpoints, and how I set mine up for organizations, we go ahead and we quarantine, isolate, and we roll back in real time. And that allows us to protect from ransomware. It allows the device to protect and isolate it from going east and west, like I was talking about, on the network automatically. If we can quarantine it, isolate it, we can control a lot of the variables with the malware signature or the virus in that point. So this is a great tool to use in your organization. So we say what EDR actually watches 24/7. It looks for process lineage. So it looks at like any kind of executable file, such as Notepad. It'll like look at Notepad and say, did it do something it's not supposed to, like spawn a PowerShell script? If it did, we want to flag it. It looks for that network behavior. So it'll look at firewall rules. So why is this program accessing this information on the internet when it's not supposed to? Or why is it connecting to a server in Eastern Europe when we're typically, doing all our operations in America? So we want to block and alert it. Excuse me. All right, so next one is privilege escalation. This is a huge part, and what you're seeing a lot in the news today is admin access. Do we need admin access for everyone? No. Do we want to watch when something's getting admin access? Yes, especially out of the blue. So if you're a user on your computer, do the simple thing. Even if it's your home or company or whatever, if you're an admin and you're not using admin processes back in your computer, you're not an admin such as installing programs or whatever, make yourself just a normal user and make your passwords completely different, very secure, for admin access. We don't want people having admin rights, and this is what an EDR is watching. Why did this ask for admin rights out of the blue? because if you can get admin rights, you can do anything on your computer, and that's not what we want. So we want to make sure that we're making sure we have the least privilege to what we can, and that we're monitoring who's got admin access rights and what it's doing. And that's exactly what this EDR is doing. Memory injection is malware hiding inside a trusted Windows service to avoid detection. They're getting sneaky. These threat actors are getting sneaky with things, and they're putting it in system files that normally antiviruses would just scan and be like, oh, that's the file. We're not, that's something that the computer needs or whatever. Well, we're looking at, is it doing something other than what it needs to be doing? All right, so looking side by side from antivirus for EDR. So antiviruses, the traditional way was signature only. They looked at some sort of like log or like list, and they would say, is this on that list of bad things? If it is, block. If not, let it through. EDR looks more at behavior and also signature detections. It catches 0-day stuff, which is a big part of it, and why we want to kind of migrate towards EDR. The next part on the traditional antivirus list is it scans files at rest. It misses in those memory attacks we discussed. And the EDR monitors running processes in real time, 24/7. So it's not just waiting for a scan once a day or whatever. It's checking everything 24/7 all the way through the day. So that's a great thing to have, because you never know. If you scan at 9 o'clock in the morning, the threat actor could be working and operating at 3 a.m. and you've missed it. So that's a really good thing. It's always working. So traditional antivirus, there's no visibility after infection occurs. So typically it'll just quarantine the item and say, oh, something happened or whatever. And there's no visibility of what's going on and how it works. So we can train maybe our staff or tell our family, like, hey, we need to be mindful about these emails or something that we're getting. And EDR, it shows you exactly the full attack timeline of what's happening, what's going on, how it's trying to ransomware or whatever it might be designed to do. And you can go back through it and look at it. It's really important for like an IT division or something of that nature, so you can really see how it's affecting your operations and everything. So traditional antivirus, you cannot isolate. It can't isolate the compromised devices. Typically, it'll quarantine the file, but it won't isolate the device from communicating on the network. An EDR can do that. It can do all of it. It can automatically quarantine whatever file or system or program or whatever's running, and then it can also remotely isolate that device. So it help you in a whole network. We don't want one device taking down all of our devices or compromising all devices. That would be a headache. And these signatures, these malware and viruses and stuff are so sophisticated. It doesn't take long. 2 minutes, it's affected most of your devices on your network, which is terrible. You'd have to go through and format all your drives, whatever it might have been, whatever compromise. So a traditional antivirus, the big part is you set it and forget it, which is like a scan, and you just kind of hope it works in the background. There's no human element into it monitoring. For our company, we actually manage responses, and that's why I've got MHT here. Marshall Technology, we review everything on behalf of our customers and our, any of our partners with business, whatever. We look at it and we review the alerts, and we actually analyze everything. So we'll look at that timeline with EDRs. We'll reach out to corresponding residential customers and business customers, whether it be their own IT department, and we actually give them kind of a breakdown of what's happened and what started it and everything of that nature. So it's really good at identifying, false positives. We don't want that. We want to make sure everything's accurately reviewed, and we keep it from happening in the future. So an antivirus is like a security guard checking IDs at our door. EDR is like a CCTV. It watches what everyone does once they're in the inside. And that's a good example of how both systems work. We kind of want to have eyes completely on the operation at all times. We want security at the utmost. So for an example, this is a real attack using how fileless malware works. So the first step usually in this attack is a phishing email. They'll send a fake invoice from a vendor, looks completely legit in your email. You're like, whoa, this is from our vendor. We need to go ahead and check what's going on with this document. So they'll click here to view the document, and then a macro runs silently. It'll run silently, usually like in that document, whether it be Word, PDF, whatever, and the macro launches into PowerShell. all activity is in that memory only. There's no file ever written on the disk, so there's nothing to scan and say, hey, this got downloaded, let me scan it through the antivirus, whatever. And then the data gets exfiltrated. So they'll take out information, what it may be, your files, passwords, network, whatever, and your antivirus never even knew what was going on. So what EDR does in this steps, it would say fires alert the moment that word spawns that PowerShell. Attack stopped at step 3 here, and it's quarantine isolated. We can review it in real time and everything when that event happens. So that's a great example of how EDR works versus in a traditional antivirus program. It's behavior. It looks at the behavior versus the actual file, which is what we need these days. So how does or what does EDR protection look like for you? I've got these kind of broken down in home user and also for the business users and everything. We partner with a company called Bitdefender, Gravity Zone. They're one of the top when it comes to EDR endpoints, and that's what we use in our organization. Everything. So. But in the home user side, Bitdefender Gravity works on every device. It's super lightweight, zero slowdown, works on all your devices, Windows, Mac, Android, helps protect them. It's always working 24/7 in the background. If you partner with us for that service and everything, we review alerts on your behalf. So I'll go in there and make sure that if you did get alert on something and it's quarantined, we look at it and see if it's not a false positive on there. We want to make sure that it's completely legit, and then we want to kind of change our behavior so that we aren't doing that or setting ourselves up for failure in the future. This is a big part, and home users, and why home users really need to kind of wake up to it and get some sort of monitoring service, especially one that's managed on behalf of you. So someone that has a little bit of a technical background can look at it and know exactly what's going on, so you can prevent that in the future. This EDR system will automatically quarantine on your detected devices. So if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, it's going ahead and quarantining it on behalf of us until we can look at it. Now on their business owner's platform, you want all your endpoints under one managed console. And a real good reason for that is you can watch everything in real time and how it's affecting everything in an organization versus one at a time here and there or whatever. So if you have all of it, we can get a good glimpse of the whole entire organization. So it's under one dashboard. It's fully visible with what's going on and anything that's happening. Because one file or malicious thing could affect so many devices on that thing, and we could already go ahead and see the links between the different endpoints on the organization. So another big point of that is it's got that network isolation. That's a huge part. If one endpoint in your organization gets compromised, it will isolate that instead of allowing it to go laterally east and west through your organization, which we do not want. We don't want other devices getting quarantined. So another big part of that is we get that full attack playback and forensics, just like we talked about in the home users. It's the same thing. We got the little breadcrumbs, and we can look back what's going on, and we can go ahead and try to fix that out. That's a big part of organizations and small business to have some sort of consistency and training for future instances. If someone clicks something and we can use it as a training thing, we want to be able to say, hey, this is what happened, you need to be aware of it, this happened to our company. So we can kind of look at that and make a learning point from it versus a bad situation. Compliance things. So we got HIPAA, PCI, and cybersecurity insurance policies. So a lot of these, these regulations like HIPAA and PCI, we want to make sure that we're in regards to their own policies and procedures. We want to make sure that we're following everything to a T. And then if you're getting small business cybersecurity insurance, a big part of that is usually they require you to have an EDR set up on your endpoints. So this kind of gets around those different compliancy standards and everything. So 5 things I'd like you to take home today or think about in the future. Antivirus is necessary, but it's no longer sufficient on its own. So we want a kind of more advanced thing that looks at a more behavior approach versus looking on a log or set standard of whatever. Because there's so many new things, new polymorphic designs and different new instances that we have never seen before. We want to look at more of the behavior versus a list of known things in the past that's outdated, unfortunately. 97% of modern attacks bypass the antivirus, and that's by design. Why would you design something to get blocks the instant you do it? No. If you're paying $50 for something on the dark web or whatever, you want it to work, and that's exactly what they're designing these for. EDR, how it works, it watches that behavior, not just files, and it's a critical defense in that. It checks everything as you go through it. I've got some pricing structure for what we charge per device. We do $15 a month, and the reason is we manage. Not only do we have the EDR set up on your computer and everything, we manage reports and manage all the statistics and everything, and we interpret those for you, whether it be your home or business. We just want to make sure that your device is completely protected 24/7 and everything. And when we look at that comparison for $8,000 in ransomware recovery costs, like I said, that's if the ransomware user or whatever, the bad actor, will even give you your files back. And you got to think about it. Is your device, it might be 5 years of content or something that you've got on your device or whatever. How much is it worth? You should protect it, just like you would buy insurance or something in your your house or your car or something of that nature. You got to look at it the same way. I have this amount of money invested in this. I need to insure it or try to protect it, maintain it in order to be not get lost or compromised. And ransomware is a nasty thing. And I'd be happy to talk to you if you have questions on ransomware and how to do that. There's plenty of things of that nature, like object lock storage is a good part to look in and everything like that. And we can set you up, even if it's for your home or your office. We'd be happy to help you out in that regard too. And it would greatly increase your chances of getting your information back, because that's the only way to, unfortunately, to block and mitigate your risk from ransomware. And you're going to see a lot more of that ransomware. So we have enterprise grade protection. So we partnered, like I said, with Bitdefender. Right now, we're going to be transitioning to Huntress, which has, not only it's the same EDR, but it has a human factor into it as well. Imagine having your own SOC team and not spending the crazy amount of money to have that. So we're going to be partnered with them later on and everything like that. So you don't need IT. That's why we manage it for you and everything. We charge about $15 per device for residential and about $12 for commercial, but we're happy to work with you on some of those things. We have custom tailored managed platforms on all of our for all of our customers and everything. So the more you bundle and the more you do, we actually save you more in the long run with it. So just give us a call. I'm happy to kind of work with you when it comes to all those services for you. So. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on our first Tech Talk. And like I said, I was a little nervous in our talk, but I'm hoping to kind of get a little bit more custom to it in the future and everything. If you can, make it to one of our Tech Talks here locally. We'd love to have you and everything. We primarily focus on Western North Carolina, but we're happy to help your infrastructure anywhere there in the United States and everything. So give us a call or check us out on our website, marseilltechnology.com, and we hope you have a good day.